How are you, folks? Enzo DiCostanzo, clinical professor, economics and finance at St. Peter's in Jersey City, and I want to welcome the new students. This is August 30th, 2022. So I have about half my fall 2022 students that are new. So welcome to St. Peter's. Welcome to Jersey City. If not from Jersey City, although we have a lot of people from Jersey City who come to St. Peter's, you've probably been passing the school for a long part of your lives. So this is an introductory video for sort of everybody. So my two 101 sections, my two advanced sections. So we're going to sort of try to talk about just sort of how I do my classes and YouTube and BlackBoard and how to submit the assignments and Excel and PDF and all the things that we like to talk about. So so I'm a professor in economics and finance, and if you're in the I'm teaching EC 101. Section 01 and 04, I'm teaching the 410 section and the 415 section. So my 410 and 415 sections have about 12 people, but the 101s have about 25 or more. So that's a big number of people in those sections. I have a few people who've taken me before, but not many. I looked over the list. There's 5 or 6 names that I recall from past semesters. And actually, what we should probably do. Let's get to the screen share. I'm very technology oriented. So, I use Excel and PDFs and video, and I use a lot of that stuff to sort of do everything. Actually, you know what? Let's do this first. Let's go to here we are. Let's go to the BlackBoard. Okay, and you can see I've been here for a while. It's a lot of courses that I've taught over the years. So here, and again, I always put out like a student evaluation for I always put out like a student evaluation for my classes, and I know there's like an online one and all that, but I was from my Rutgers days. I was at Rutgers for about 10 years before I came to St. Peter's, and actually just a little bit of my history. I went to NJIT. I graduated I have a master's degree in engineering from NJIT. I have an MBA from Fordham. I went to Queens College. I have legal studies graduate work. So I have a lot of that stuff. And I'm a private economist for a wealthy family in Pittsburgh. But I live in New Jersey. But they live in Pittsburgh. But again, that's why. So I don't live in Pittsburgh. I don't think I've ever been to Pittsburgh. And but I've been with them for about 10 years. And I'm the son's advisor. And I do I look at the macro economy, what the central banks are doing, kind of thing, and then analyze deals. So I use a lot of my CFA type skills, my accounting analysis, certainly my economic analysis. I do a lot of those types of things. I do a lot of those types of things for the people I work with, and they have a property in Florida. I'll try to show you pictures at some point in this semester, but a fantastic property down there for meeting people. Folks, let me tell you, this is sort of what happens. You get, I don't want to say brainwashed, but when I went to NJIT, it was like this too. When you go to college, you get this idea that, okay, well, if I go to Columbia and I get an MBA and I do this and I get my CPA license and whatever, you have a whole list of things that you want to do. And that's all fine. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I have a Jesuit educated relative who, commuted to New York for 30, 40 years or whatever it is. It worked out really well for him. And that's what he liked to do. A lot of people do that. Okay. A lot of people that day in, day out sort of work. I work day in, day out too. But I'm basically an entrepreneur. So, okay, I teach at the school. We meet at a certain time, and that's all true. But in terms of the private advising that I do, the private economic advising that I do, you're in people's lives. You're believe me, if you're very wealthy, you're accountant, you're attorney. Those are the closest people that are to you. And same thing with the economic advisor, which is what I do. You're very close with people, so you're in their lives. So their habits, their lifestyle, there's got to be it's got to be similar. There's got to be a synergy there where you're comfortable doing that. I'm not the kind of person that, I don't need to be, I'm not charging people by the minute or by the heartbeat. And again, if your parents are attorneys or your family, whatever it is, don't be offended by this. I have a second cousin who's a constitutional lawyer, not just an attorney. He's a constitutional attorney. And don't get that wrong. So to what all that is. Um, those folks, they charge by the minute, by the hour, or whatever. They're very, very fussy. The reason I'm clicking back and forth is like 10 minutes in, this thing sort of cuts off. So I just want to make sure I short circuit it before that happens. But yeah, so and really, even in Europe, the European attorneys are the same way. They're very on the clock. They're always on the clock, these guys. But my success has been just being very comfortable, available, sort of 24 hours a day, and not overly demanding, and smooth. And you got to just sort of fit into things, because when you're very close to very wealthy people, it's sort of things sort of fall your way. If there's somebody on their back going, give me a fee, give me a check, give me this, give me that, give me. If you're always sort of like that at work, that's a tough that's a tough person to sort of to work with. And I've seen that. And I was always very, we always had, afternoon tea in New York back, this is, years ago, before, the changes of the last couple of years. So you guys are really young. I remember, it's unfortunate, but I remember is when I was a kid, the way New York sort of is now is what New York was like when I was very, very young. It was very, very dangerous. Watch a movie from the 70s or the early 80s. Remember the Death Wish? I didn't really watch them, but like the Charles Bronson movies, where he was like a vigilante or something. Not that you should be a vigilante, but it shows you what New York was like. Serpico, Mean Streets, I think, with De Niro in the 70s. Look, anything from the 70s, any sort of police thing, police themed movie or city themed movie that's filmed in New York, and you can see there was a lot of graffiti, it was dirty, kind of a thing. And I don't know what, folks, let me tell you, it's hard. I don't want to get too far into it in this video, but sort of what's happened. Look, the elephant in the room is certainly, socially, what's sort of been going on, because you guys were all 5 years ago, 15 years old or whatever, 12 years old, and the world looks dramatically different than it did just a few years ago. The virus was a part of it, but I think there was a lot of things, just sort of the unfortunately, just the massive separation that we've sort of experienced in society has been happening for a while. That's not something that happened because of the pandemic or in 2015 or whatever. It didn't happen because of that. It's just the veil got kind of pulled away, and I think we just saw our relationship to each other maybe not as good, not maybe the ideal version, not the ideal version of I think what society should be, or how we should be relative to one another, which is a shame. I'm a Jesuit educated kid my whole life. I like to think good Catholic values, good Christian values, good spiritual values, try to be a good person to work with. Generally, I've taught for a very long time. The students are generally happy. My last couple of years, I was getting comments, the course is too hard. The course is too, well, I mean, I'm going to be very particular and very challenging with things with you guys. Always just keep that in mind. Okay. It's not going to be just a walkthrough. We have a woman who took my classes a number of years ago. She worked all night long she worked for a logistics firm all night long. She was a coach in Newark, believe it or not, in the afternoons. And then she took her classes in the day, and ask her, if you're asking yourself, when did she sleep? We don't know. I think she's just going 24 hours a day, paid for school, kind of a thing. And I'm never forgetting. And I worked with her on terms of attendance, and we worked things out together, because she had a rather extreme sort of situation. She was taking care of her family and young, not on. See, at Rutgers, when I was at Rutgers, I had people in like a class, and like a 101, I had people who were 25, 20, 27, 28 years old. But here you're all 18, 19, or maybe a little bit, it might be a 20-year-old, but you're the traditional, typical college group of people. At Rutgers, it was a big diverse group in there, in terms of there were people with kids, like who had college age kids themselves, and worked all day or whatever. Yeah, it wasn't as sort of homogeneous as it was with you guys. Kids from India that maybe they didn't get to this country at college age right away. It took some time for them to maybe they took community college, maybe in India or New Delhi or something, and then came to the U.S. and came to Newark and Edison and places like that, Queens, of course. So, I recall them, but with you guys, it's relatively homogeneous. But like I said, but in terms of sort of how we sort of are society-wise and things of that nature, work hard, be honest about things. Don't copy each other's homework. Come to class, pay attention. Don't just come to class and surf the internet. Those kinds of things. Okay, really focus on what's going on. Because, and again, getting back to the comment that student had said to me, she told me, she says, I come to your class, you have 2, 3, 4 things that we're doing and you're talking about in class, and she appreciated that, even though she struggled dramatically. But she's doing. I don't think it was an ability thing. It's just, when you're not sleeping for 4 years, that's a tough way to live. And then she moved in with some guy in Jersey City somewhere, and that got complicated. So all sorts of things are going on. Don't complicate your life more than you need to. Think about career and building that out. That's important. Okay, you can always get married. You can always have children. Rushing to do that too quickly. I remember there was somebody, a student of a number of years ago. She made a video where she says, I want to be married at 25, and she's going through again the whole list of things. Those lists. You got to be careful with sort of making those lists. Oh yeah, and also getting back to the whole idea of success and sort of what different ways of doing things. Be very educated, be very smart, know what you're talking about, back up what you're saying with data, be logical, be rational, be careful with the emotion thing. Okay, because inserting folks, were people, we're emotional as our nature, but I think what's happened, the reason the political discourse and the societal discourse has gotten so charged up over the years, I think we're just so emotional over things and taking everything personal, and you got to really be careful. You're gonna go to work, you're gonna get criticism, you're gonna get knocked down, and the whole Jesuit education that's been around for a very long time is you're able to get back up, or at least we hope you're able to get back up, from things that are gonna knock you down, situations. So just keep that in mind, that everything's not going to be perfect all the time. See, stay in the call. Yeah, it's about 10 minutes. Yeah, so it's weird. It's about 10 minutes in, that little message comes up. I apologize for that. So anyhow, because other people aren't clicking on, that's sort of that little message didn't come up when I first started using Google Meet. But anyway, yeah, so like I said, so I'm getting comments from the students about they appreciate that the course is focused, which is really a great comment. And that we have a plan in terms of what we're doing, and people are generally happy with the course. But like I said, we're not just giving things away, and it's important. It's important to achieve things. Okay, and we have a safe environment to do that with me. Okay, where I'm not just get emotional and say, oh well, you failed, and this isn't in on time, or whatever, the wrong format or whatever it might be. But just know that when you go to work, and like I said, especially in terms of what I do, which is a very, I hate to talk like this, but a very other side of the tracks, career, in a sense, where it's really a unique thing, and not a lot of people get to do the things that I get to do. I mean, presidents of nations and the central banking people and all sorts of folks out there, and it's not. I can't deny it's you meet Derek Jeter, you meet Giuliani, you meet whoever is out there, you meet Hillary, right? You meet all these different people. It's an experience, and I appreciate that I'm in a slot where that happens. But again, I work for people who are extraordinarily wealthy, so they're going to meet the lawmakers and the government people and the regulators. That's their responsibility to have relationships with people, that kind of thing. So yeah, so and again, in terms of my background, I have advanced degrees in engineering, accounting, finance, legal studies. So I got a lot of stuff. But I teach economics because I have an enormous experience in it, and I was in the math. When I was at Rutgers, I was on the math faculty, so I've all the math, although it's all the statistics and all that stuff is there. Also, we're going to click on one of the links for the courses, but I just want to just throw this out to you. Buffett American. I know I typed it all crazy, but in terms of books and things, yeah, something like this. You could pick it up at Walmart or Amazon or something. Yeah, you can see this is now. Actually, when I bought it, it was maybe a little about $10. It was like $14 when I bought it. But see, Buffett, Making of an American Capitalist. I'd like us to read that. It's about 400 pages, and because here's the thing: when we go to the here, let's go to the website here. Here, this is just the 101, but they're all the similar. Oh, also, yeah, just to mention this, I laid out the schedule for the next 5 weeks. So, now today's the 30th, tomorrow's the 31st. So we'll be live, Wednesday and Thursday, our normal class times, if it's 8 or 9 or 1 or 2, whatever your section is. But also, just to make you guys aware that there's 3 Thursdays in September that, like you're seeing this video now, the lectures will be on video. Now, I didn't make these lectures yet, but whatever we're talking about, well, I'll just do a little more of a complete picture of whatever it is we're talking about in class, whatever we get to with the Excel or the notes or whatever it might be, and I'll just extend the lecture into those videos. And now it's not going to be synchronous where, okay, but 8 o'clock class, you should be watching this video. I'll post the video to YouTube or to Blackboard, and you can link to YouTube, and then you can watch it whenever you can, but relatively soon. Don't let weeks go. Don't let 10 days go by and then you didn't watch any of these videos. So make sure within a day or two you're watching those videos. It's an hour or so. And again, I've gotten the comment a number of times, oh, they're so long and all this. But, folks, let me tell you, college is work. And here's something, again, college for me was, I guess, quite a while ago at this point. But, for every this is what I was told when I came to college. For every hour you spend in class, you should be spending 3 hours outside of class. So for anyone to sit there and say, oh, man, I got to read a book. Oh, man, I got to watch a lecture. Oh, man, I got to do what? College, it's not made where you just come to class, sit there, surf the internet, and copy homework and leave. That's not college. Okay, it's just not, folks. And I just got to, I'll be saying this to you, tomorrow and Thursday, this too. That's not college. So please don't shortchange yourself. Make sure you spend some time on what's going on or understanding it. And you got to do Excel. All these assignments are in Excel. You got to make PDF files. You should have a PDF writer software. That's like $100. So I'm not making you buy a textbook for $150, but the Warren Buffett book is whatever, 20 or so. And we're going to run the course on my notes, and I've actually, up to now, I have 134 pages of notes that I made for you guys. We're not going to do, see here, I have a ton of experience in practical matters, in the practice of economics, the practice of analysis, the practice of getting deals done, advising people, advising governments and banks and wealthy individuals. And I got a lot of, and I really just, even I've done it for quite a while, but I still feel like I'm at the beginning of all of that. So I just sort of do the courses based on my notes. Certainly the 101 sections, inflation, GDP. Yeah. We'll get to all the Jay Powell stuff. We'll watch some Jay Powell videos and what the central bank is thinking. We'll go through that. And I know the other 2 courses, the international finance course and the accounting course. But folks, yeah, to those 2 400 level courses, if you're doing international finance, what do you think you're doing? You're doing, someone else, you're taking advantage of a tax benefit from being in Ireland or being somewhere else, wherever it might be. So we're going to talk. So really the course, the first few weeks of the course, and maybe more than that, we're going to talk about regulation and individual taxes and corporate taxes. And actually here, just as I'm talking to you guys there, individual tax entities, other areas, business law, some ethics, some structures. Okay. And we're going to talk about gains, and there's all economics in this stuff. So, but it's also something where you've got a numerical answer. And I don't want to run these courses where there's no answer, there's no number, there's no anything. I just don't want to work it like that. I mean, so I came from NJIT and as a student, and those were heavily mathematical classes. And it's benefited me dramatically to, be that way, to treat really everything as you're taking an engineering course with me is really what you're doing. So just be ready for that. And like I said, there's a lot of things that we can talk about here. The schedule. So yeah, so in terms of the schedule, so just refer to this. This is the first 5 weeks or so, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So the 3 Thursdays, the 29th, the 22nd, the 8th. It's all going to be YouTube, and you watch those lectures, and it might be more than an hour. It's not going to be just 50 minutes, okay, or an hour and whatever. It's going to be whatever I'm saying. It's going to be however long it takes me to say it, okay. And you're going to watch that, and you hit the pause button if it's too long, okay. But like I said, I read the evaluations from Liz. Now I've been making videos for a couple of years. It's not my first go around making videos. Certainly when COVID hit, even that I was making videos. I think as early as 2018, okay. And actually, in one of my jobs and that led me to the thing I do now outside of St. Peter, and even to St. Peter's, to be honest with you. I worked for an Excel training firm, and we were making videos in the mid 2000s. Okay, so this is, probably when you guys were almost born or whatever, maybe a couple years ago, maybe you were 4 or 5 years old or 6 or whatever it was. But we were making videos a while ago. So this is nothing new, and it's something to get used to. It's going to be part of work here. KPMG, they had 3 locations that they had staff in New York City. They've consolidated or plan to consolidate to 1 location, and are going to have half the square footage of office space, because when you're, let's face it, when you're even if you're an attorney, an accountant, an attorney, those types of jobs, you don't necessarily have to be in the office, or you could go in for a couple days or whatever. I don't think there's this whole coming in every day on the PATH train and having lunch and the commuting time. It's just not necessary. I worked at Value Line after I got out of Fordham, and that was before the Excel training firm, but that was a really good job and I enjoyed it. That was like the Warren Buffett research place where we did specific company analysis and what are the price per earnings ratios and what are the earnings numbers of the company and what's the company's philosophy, and like I said, that's the Buffett book. Okay, so if like I said, this guy, he's not of the statistical world in the sense where of course he knows his math, but his main thing is financial statement analysis and accounting analysis, and are these the people running this company, are they good people, all those kinds of things. Okay, so that's really what that's really what you want to look at. Okay, but that's the Buffett book. Okay, you can see the price there. So it's basically that. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so yeah, you can just look at these wherever, thrift books, whatever it might be. Vital Source has these things electronically. Okay, so yeah, actually this is a used one for $4 or $5. I would have said to you, hey, go out to the NYU bookstore and buy it for $5. But again, you know how things are these days. That's up to you to make that journey. But again, when I was a kid in the 70s, New York was dangerous, and don't go to New York because it's dangerous, and all those kinds of things. So what sort of happened, and what's happened has happened. You got to manage it. Okay, and you really got to manage it. And gives a number of people. I know a couple people in my class a couple years ago who lived or grew up in Jersey City, lived in Jersey City, but then the family moved way out somewhere and just decided to do that. I'll tell you, I think as people, we've become too concentrated in the cities, and I think that's a part of sort of what's gone wrong here. I don't think we're really meant to live sort of on top of each other. A little bit of space, I think, goes a long way. So anyhow, so yeah. So like I said, yeah, the schedule here for the next few weeks, and most likely in October, I think we're going to be just normal sessions. I don't think we have Columbus Day off anymore, but we have normal 3-day week, and then November, December will probably be back down to 2 days a week. So just keep that in mind in terms of what we're doing. But again, you're going to be managing your time with the video lecture, going over the notes and going over what we're doing. But you've got to expect to work outside of class. It's not just coming to class and just sitting there. Okay. And again, I realize maybe what's going on in the high schools has maybe changed a bit, but that shouldn't have changed. Okay. That's what you should be doing. Anyway, so this is the whatever, all the sites are going to look similar, but again, I'm sure to teach you guys my experience here. So yeah, the room is McDermott 301. And then we have this little button here, and I put an economics textbook in here. Now for the accounting folks and the finance folks, I could post some finance stuff. I don't know I don't recall if for the if I put in yeah, oh yeah, I did know I put a finance book in here for the 410s. There's a finance book there for 415. Yeah, so you guys the upper levels courses you guys have the finance stuff in there. Okay. But don't worry about that. But anyway, there's a PDF of the textbook, so you don't have to worry about spending whatever, $100-something on a textbook. A syllabus is here. I post this stuff. Don't get too wound up in this. Really, I think the most important part of the syllabus is the following. Again, another calendar of stuff. And again, I gave you BlackBoard has the most detailed version of things, but this has the course and the index number and when the final exam is. It's on the syllabus here. The day, because there's usually like a student athlete or something. We have kids from New Zealand who play on like the soccer team, and they're flying back home, and so a couple days to them is a big deal, because I fly internationally too, and it's not just like going down to Florida or going to San Diego or something. It's quite a thing to get. If you're going more than 10,000 miles from New York City, it's quite a lot. So on the 14th, there's mass. There's a couple masses. The 28th, there's a mass. So most likely, on the 28th, it says there's no 11 a.m. class. So I have to just manage that. So if there's no 11, that doesn't affect us because we have 1, 2, 8, 9. Yeah. So the 28th we're not affected. On the 14th we're impacted. So for the 10104 and the 415 on the 14th, we're most likely not going to have and I'll post those to Blackboard for you guys. But those are also going to be YouTube days because there's the mass that happens there. So there's no 1 p.m. So we're not going to come for the 2 p.m. class. So we'll just do the YouTube on that day. But again, I'll notify people as you need to. And I put little descriptions of the course and my contact information. I use my NJIT email, but you can use either. In terms of office hours, I prefer online. I prefer if we did these online. And this just lists the topics. Now, with the grading, I didn't put participation in here, but we're going to do that. And actually, better than, if you're looking here, again, this syllabus is just my traditional one. I like to do assignments, really, is what I like to do. Because really, I want to get you delivering a report, delivering an analysis and a PDF, and it's contained and it looks good and those kinds of things. Okay. So I want to get you, instead of worrying about multiple choice questions and things of that nature, I want us to be able to do, to generate analysis and to transmit that electronically and have it look good. And you can't send someone, a 100-page Excel file with a bunch of blank pages and just doing stupid stuff like that. And it happens. You got to get comfortable with the computer and PDFs and attachments and Excel and doing your math in Excel. And you don't need a calculator. As long as you have Excel, you can do everything there. And that's really the best way to go. And that's what I can only teach you what I do for a living. I remember I was at Rutgers in the undergraduate school for many years, but then I went back and was in the graduate school for a couple of years. And I remember telling an MBA class this, something to the effect of, I don't have, I've only had a couple jobs. Oh, I was at Rutgers, I was at Value Line, and the thing I do now, and the Excel training firms. I really did about 4 or 5 different things over the years. I haven't had every job, and I'll tell you, I didn't spend a lot of time, I'm not really a corporate guy. That walks into an office and the secretary and up the elevator and all. I don't really work that way. Okay. And really the world is sort of revolved to me instead of me revolving to these big, crazy commutes that we do. Just getting across Manhattan, the S train, and all that takes a lot of time and energy and running around. So, and especially with what I do, analysis, you could do analysis remotely and you travel for meetings, travel to close the deal. But again, that's, I was lucky enough where I got to meet someone where I can do something for a living that not so many people have experience with. That's why in terms of the course content, in terms of what we do, I'm just trying to give you a picture of the skills that I see in my experiences that are valuable in terms of making money. If you're looking for, some, and nothing against whatever KPMG or PricewaterhouseCoopers, someone who marches into PricewaterhouseCoopers up in Florham Park, I might not be the guy to tell you too much about that. But because I don't do it and don't really want to be honest with you. But I have all those skills though, and that's the important thing. Okay, I got those skills dramatically in a dramatic sense. Where I realized for the CPA exam and some of these things, the CFA exam, it's multiple choice question and you fill in the circle, but the people I work with want a model, want an explanation, and I'm just showing you what I do in terms of turning a rather good buck doing it. Okay, but getting back to the grading, I want to do more participation percentages, so we might split this up a bit. So it's really going to be assignments. There'll be final exam and participation. So participation will be like 25%, something like that. So I should rejiggle these numbers, but the participation might be 25%. The assignments might be like 50, and then the final exam might be 25. I should rewrite those. This was from the Rutgers days. I just sort of left it there, which is a little stupid, but yeah. We're in a live class, so I just want to. And again, some of you were just in high school yesterday or recently. I just want to mention, please don't come to class with bags of chips and sodas and pizza, and don't come to class unless you're really, really, it's sort of our only choice here. But I really wish you would avoid doing that, folks. We've had dinners at work, but when I worked in New York all the time, we go to dinners or go to Yankee game or something, there'd be food there. That's a different story. But in meetings, though, and if it's, noisy or whatever, you spill something or whatever it might be. I remember that one of the interviews I went on was a transcript firm. It was a firm that developed transcripts for. There's a lot of money in that, by the way. Developed transcripts for the investor relations meetings. So when J.P. Morgan said, "Oh, well, this is how much money we made," there'd be a transcript of the whole thing, and they would generate those transcripts. And I remember I went to the interview with the guy, and I put my hand on the table. My hand's like stuck to the table, and I thought it was creepy. I remember that was like one of the first jobs I interviewed for if I got out of Fordham. But it was a bizarre thing to do that. So you don't want to freak people out, but with silly stuff like that. So I really would appreciate no eating or drinking in class or noisy chips or anything, those kinds of things. And again, folks, I get it. You went to high school or whatever, you sat there and you did whatever you did, but I really wish that as you come to class, you'd come with your laptop and open the laptop up and open up the Excel, open up the notes, and and really just follow what's going on and not just sit there surfing the internet. That's not helping you. And like I said, it's 15 weeks, but that we're going to be working together. But I'm telling you some really good stuff and really valuable stuff. And I really wish that you would, clamp. I don't clamp onto that. I don't want to be a test guy and a midterm and multiple choice. That's not helping you. That's not really. But generating an analysis, helping you to think, helping you to be rational, helping you to be a good worker, and an honest worker, legitimate worker. Folks, look at all the things that we see. And again, I don't want to get overly political on this video or in class, but look at the things that are out there. You guys probably know exactly what I'm talking about when the federal government makes statements about what's sort of going on in the world, and then there's video evidence of the complete opposite of what these folks are telling us. That type of thing. You want to avoid, folks. If you don't learn that in school, I mean, what's going to happen to the world if we stop being honest about things and we're always sort of trying to do some shady thing to each other, and it's no good. I mean, the world can't survive like that. It really can't. We got to look out for each other. We all belong to one another, and it's your responsibility to be honest and ethical and behave in a way that you'd be proud of. And all of us know what's right and wrong. Okay, I sit there and say, "Oh, the law said this, and Trump took the documents out to Florida, but he declassified them, but the FBI says he didn't." And now, and again, I have some legal background in terms of my education. At this point, just watching, again, I don't want to spend too much time on the whole Trump thing and Mar-a-Lago, but when you're doing hearings about your last hearing, you don't have anything, even though he might get indicted for something, but it may not. It's all theater. It's really all theater. The president of the United States can declassify his documents, and one of Trump's attorneys was on the Giuliani podcast and Mark Levin and all that. And really, I'll send you the Mark Levin 10 minutes that he did, I think, last Sunday night. He explained everything about that, and it's all just a big hoax. I have a guy who, and folks, again, I'm not a run away Trump guy either. I'm not. I'm a conservative thinker, but I'm not. Oh, well, Trump this, Trump that. It's not for me. It's not a cult of personality. It's the policies that are out there. Do you like paying the gas prices and the food prices? I bought olives at times. We love our olives in with our salads. The olives, the ShopRite brand, not the big fancy brand. The ShopRite brand was like 99 cents a number of years ago. It was like $2.10 the other day at ShopRite in Belleville. And I was astonished that that's not good. Our gas prices, touching $4. That's not good. Okay, it's not. Okay, and that's what if Biden came in and we had good gas prices in the world, we don't have all these pockets of problems of unrest, breaking out all over the place. I'd say, hey, he's doing a great job. But unfortunately, when he's in there and people make this comment, he's an empty vessel, this and that. But there's other people. Susan Rice is running the government or whatever it might be. But if everything was going fine, that's great. But it's not going fine, and that's what's wrong. And now we're going to be facing off with China over something, and Taiwan, and all these different things. And the local level, there's a lot of unrest. So, we didn't have that when Trump was in, and I'm not saying he's the perfect guy. He's not. He's far from it. Far from it. We know. I'm saying the people I work with know his sons and all that. But, what's sort of going on is not it's not helping us. Anyhow, we're going to talk more about politics and things of that nature. But really, my advice to you guys is focus on developing your skills, focus on being useful, focus on your cash flows, focus on being able to make a good dollar, good honest dollar, and that you're honest. And that's all I really care about is that, transmitting that to you guys. That's worked for me for a long time. Being a good Jesuit educated kid, I like to hope that. Anyway, avoid listening to music in class or overly texting. I'm not saying if you got to, you're picking up your sister from school or something, you got to say, hey, I'm coming, or hang on or whatever. I understand that, but try to take some notes as we go through things and try not to be disruptive. And we're there for 50 minutes. If you got to have a conversation with somebody, go outside. A couple of years ago, there was a couple of students who just sat in the back of class and just were so disruptive. I couldn't believe it. And there were people who had taught previously, and I was astonished at sort of how bad it got. It was a few years ago. It was, we don't want that. Okay. If you, like I said, look, the school makes you come to I'll say it like this. St. Peter says, come to class. And so I say, come to class. But when I was at Rutgers, if people didn't want to come to class, and this is before we didn't have videos back then, it was the 90s. We didn't have all this videos, all this other stuff. If you really just, if you want to work, because really the course will be on video, even though we're going to meet live, but the entire course will pretty much be on video. You can work it like that, but make sure you talk to me about it and that I know what's going on. But I really appreciate that if the people do come to class and that we're focused and we're paying attention and we're on the same page, not doing something else. Okay, so I would really appreciate that. This whole thing about pencils and erasers. This is dating. That this is just an old sort of list of what to do. Again, I expect everything to work with the highest ethical behavior, the highest integrity, and it's got to start now. That's got to start if you don't know the difference between right and wrong and honest and dishonest. When does that start? So make sure you're doing that. You can't share stuff. I'm saying in terms of sharing, like, if you want to say, hey, talk to somebody about the assignments or whatever, do that, but you shouldn't be forwarding a file to somebody and just put your name on it, and maybe not even that. And that's happened a couple times over the years where somebody just sent someone their homework and the other guy just handed it in and wrote his name on the paper. And then as I'm looking through the document, there's another person's name there, so that's pretty bad. So that's shortcuts. Really avoid shortcuts. But again, the school says come to class, so I'm saying that. But if you really, really, really have a situation with work or whatever, just let me know. The grading scale is here, and this whole and again, I don't want this whole academic integrity and respect thing. I'm really trying to avoid taking it to the level of we're having hearings and people copied work and things of that nature. But I want to avoid that. But I don't know. I mean, year after year it sort of ticks off the calendar, and year after year there's problems, and sometimes I get maybe I feel that we're just that's the only way. Maybe that's just the only way to where there's a formal hearing over the two people handing the exact same homework. And that's not. There's no way that you're handing in identical. There's just no way. Everybody's unique and everyone's work has a fingerprint. So, but hey, we'll see what happens. This is just some. Don't worry about this. It's like a little survey. Don't worry about that. And this is the attendance sheet. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. This is at the end of the course. Like I said, I just read these for last year. The year we just had. I just read them the other day, and I repeatedly the videos are long. The videos are long. I keep seeing that, but hey, what are you gonna do? Okay. Anyhow. So the syllabus is there. We sort of ran through that real quickly. So but in terms of the course though, so there'll be announcements here. You have the schedule. You have that. This thing is the textbook is here. Now here, this is really where the course lives. The course really lives here. So there's a bunch of attachments here, and we're going to talk about this. But I'm sort of going to start at the bottom. So here's the notes that I'm making, and I'm making these as we going along. Again, it's all stuff about regulation. It might be sitting the same professor. Why are we talking about regulation in an economics course? Well, let me show you. let me show you why. Here we go. From the Wall Street Journal, our guy Biden wants to seek $80 billion to bolster the IRS and tax enforcement. Okay, the administration estimates the plan would generate another $700 billion in net taxes, and otherwise would go uncollected. I want you guys to have some sense in your mind how much tax we collect and what's the tax gap. The tax gap is taxes that are owed versus taxes that are actually collected, that kind of a situation. And that's a picture of I've been to Washington, not often, but I've been down there, and I read this article, highlighted it. But what you're going to do, so we're going to talk about this, but I'm not going to do it today. But what you're going to have is, if you look at my version, it's all underlined and bolded, but you're going to have sort of a plain vanilla version where you don't have all the highlighting. but it's all the content is there. Right now it's about 100 something pages. So we're gonna have notes. We're gonna go over the class notes like this. We have filing status, what a taxpayer is, all that. So you're gonna read these notes just like you're reading what a single filer is. You're just gonna read these like you're gonna read a tax bill, what federal income tax guide. And like I said, we'll for the 101 sections, we're gonna go over Jay Powell and all that. We'll go over that stuff, what's going on in the economy. But I'd rather spend the time on this. And like I said, you don't think you can dodge paying taxes. I said, oh, I'm just not gonna pay taxes. You're gonna have a major problem, folks. Let me tell you. And again, when I went to NJIT, it was sort of like this. People sort of had an idea in their head that, okay, well, I'm going to go to work and everyone's going to have a highly educated person and all these things and ethical. Again, in the private transaction world that I've worked in, it's been the spectrum of people. The last two people that worked in the private that ran the firm that I used to work for. Now I work for the money guy, just sort of me and him. But at one time there was a president, there was an executive vice president. Neither one of those guys went to college, by the way. And the guy who was the president was now he was young, but he was a retired federal employee that worked in the airport. But he was very charming. He was very charming. So that's what made it sort of work. And then the executive vice president was a guy who had a bit of a skeleton or two in his closet, and that all came back to bite him. And then the money people cut it off with them because they were tired of cleaning up their regulatory messes that they made. And now it's just me and the guy's son, basically. And I think we had a disbarred attorney work for us. And the story gets more sordid as you sort of go through it. But folks, I'm proud of myself. I kept my nose clean. I didn't get involved in any of their schemes or whatever, and met people. See, the whole thing was, when you're very wealthy, you're meeting a lot of people. I would have never met Derek Jeter, Alex Rodriguez, Jennifer Lopez, Trump, Giuliani, whatever, a whole list of people, Yellen, whatever. You can have a whole list of people that you meet. There's some people that go to work and just never meet anyone. And I hope that's not you. You got to get in the world and network. That's a very important thing. And also, getting back to what I was talking about when I first started this lecture about getting an MBA or whatever, doing all those sort of academic things. But you got to get out in the world and you got to find people you have something in common with, and people where you have a little bit of passion about what it is you're doing and you're excited about it, and that you can be useful to someone. Folks, the accounting function, the legal function, what's going on in the economy, political relationships, those are the 4 or 5 things. Then obviously I have my analytical ability, but the 4 or 5 things that sort of make my world spin. And no one, I don't even think that the guys ever saw my resume. the people I work with now, I don't think they ever saw. St. Peter's wanted my resume, and I forget somebody else wanted but St. Peter's was one of them. But it was a long time between giving resumes, and actually St. Peter's one of my grades too, which I was surprised at when I came to work sort of full time, because I was an adjunct for a couple of years, and then somebody passed away, and then I became a full-time guy at the school. But I still do sort of both things. I'll do some right now. I'm in Essex County, but I'll do some videos from Europe and Florida, and like Giuliani does his podcast where it's like he's down in Palm Beach and he's on the balcony and shows the cameras. The background is the Palm Beach neighborhood behind him. We'll do some of those. But yes. Anyway, so we have the notes here. Okay, so we'll go through these in class, and there's some. And now, this is definitions, and do you understand whatever? But here's the money part of this course. So yeah, and we're going to read some Wall Street Journal stuff, and obviously this is a big thing. This is not minor. Now, what I'm hearing, I don't know if it's what's eventually going to happen. What I'm hearing is, regardless of Biden. So we're going to spend $80 billion more. This was never debated in Congress. I don't think Congress has ever approved it yet or whatever. I think he just did it by executive order somehow. But I think if there's a party change in some of the houses down in Washington, it could be both the Senate and the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House of Representatives, that this is going to be just defunded or something. And I don't know. So we'll see what happens. But sure, I mean, if there's hundreds of billions of dollars out there that's not being collected, that should be collected legitimately, that's important. A guy making 80,000, 50,000, you're chasing him down to what are his dental bills, for his deductions or something. You got to be careful with things like that. But we'll go through exemptions and it'll be good. Like I said, this is sort of, I always like to pick what's going on. I mean, look, I can't just repeat myself with these courses and just do the same chapters in the economics book or whatever. I can't just teach like that. I can't. So we're just giving you some lively stuff, and this is sort of what's going on. And here's sort of the big thing of what we're trying to teach you guys here. This should be a little bit bigger font. This is Excel. Okay. Now you can use Google Sheets or something, or the Apple spreadsheet or whatever, but but I'm teaching in PC, IBM PC Excel. That's what I'm teaching. I'm not teaching every version. So if there's specific keystrokes to make certain things happen, that's up to you to figure that out. But these are the tax. This is federal income. These are federal income tax. These are the tax brackets, deductions, and the different years in here. We're going to go through this. And actually, I made a blank version of this for you guys. There's a bunch of questions that we're going to go over. So really, the course is going to be notes, problems, notes, problems, notes, problems, notes, and problems. That's going to be the course. And we're going to concentrate on regulation for a while. See, making these little sort of statements here, what interest income is, and what's taxed, what's not taxed, and how you add everything up, and taxable interest income, total interest income. And there's a lot of these problems. You can see a lot of them. Okay. So we're going to be going over this and understand the logic, and you've got to be able to, print the stuff out. And look here, there's a lot of information. When you print this stuff out, you're not printing out every piece of the puzzle here. Let me show you what I mean by printing things out. Oh yeah. Also, by the way, let's look just also quickly looking at the folder here. Hey, we're still recording, which is good. You have tax instructions, IRS publications, Sarbanes-Oxley. So, we're going to go through. This is already posted. And then here's your version of the spreadsheet. So what you do is you leave this version up here, and you click on this, you download a version to your hard drive, and you work like me. This is my hard drive. See, there's an Excel file and some Word files. That's how you should work. You can't work in the attachment. Like if you just go to an email or like here, just look at this stuff. You can't do anything. You can't work on it as well. It's still attached. And that's just crazy. I know there's people say, oh, I try to do everything. I couldn't do it. You got to download this to your PC. You got to work from your hard drive, not from the server. Okay. So I mean, again, some people have various experiences with Excel, but you've got to download these files and then change the file name, and you got to, make it whatever, student name spreadsheet or whatever. You've got keep what I'm posting up here. You shouldn't be altering any of this stuff. Okay. Download it to your PC, and then you work from there. Okay. Same thing with if you want to make other notes on just notes and problems, you want to make some other notes in here, you do that. But leave mine. That's why these are all PDFs. You can't change them. This you can change. Okay. But actually, what I wanted to mention to you guys was I just want to show you what the I sent this to my guy, to the people I work with. When you print out an Excel sheet, I apologize. My system is old. That's an old system here. So I had this when I worked for the Excel training firm. I have the same system. This thing, Citibank. Wrote some letters. You got to be able to write a letter. Okay. Actually, this is some of the legislation that I worked on. I worked on this with an attorney from McKinsey at the beginning of the year, kind of a thing. Yeah, these are annual reports. It might be, that's CPA exam. See, everything's all folders and everything. Here it is. Yeah. There it is. Oh, I apologize. This should have been open. But yeah, you've got to be able to find again, because I have a lot of things going on for you guys. I've worked down in Florida, work overseas, work in Pittsburgh. So I got a lot of letters and emails and statements and models and Excel and this and that. So there it is. So yeah, so this is consolidated financial statements for a couple of these fiscal years. And you can see here's assets, here's the balance sheet, and there's some incomplete stuff here. But this is in Excel. So you've got to be able to, so again, I sent this to my guys. I sent them a PDF. I didn't send them in Excel, especially if you're dealing with an attorney. You definitely don't want, and you're to the point where you're signing something. You don't want to send something to be signed as a Word document, because they could change it. And, oh, here I signed it. And if you miss it, then that's sort of your problem, right? So, But yeah, you've got to be able to create. This is from Excel. I created PDFs out of this. Here's some of the consolidated income statements, and we'll go through what consolidation is, and maybe I'll talk a little bit about what I'm working on. But I'm working on bank acquisitions right now. Is really what I'm working on, and that's been what I've been working on for actually quite a while. So yeah, so this is, but we'll so how to go from here in Excel to this. You need to learn how to do that, okay? And you have to have a PDF writer to do it. So see, so this is file, and then save as PDF. See, you go to selection, and I'll go through the steps in Excel of how to do this. But you should be able to, take what you're doing in Excel, and but you have to have, see what it says save as, you have to have that ability, that capability there, and that's only when you have the software. So that, like I said, if I'm to say to you guys to buy something, it might be that. But people are telling me in the library you can do PDF writer in the library. So if you want to just run in there and do what you got to do for a few minutes, that you got to figure out what's going on with that. Okay, but these are some of the brackets. So we're going to work some of the Excel stuff out. There'll be some specific here. It says Aaron and Marge are married cash-based taxpayers. The couple has interest income as follows. And again, it goes through. They get interest from a federal income tax refund, from a state income tax refund. They get interest on Treasury. They have interest on the Puerto Rican government obligations or bonds. They have interest on the state of New York bonds or whatever it is. It says what amount of interest income is taxable on the couple's joint income tax return. And you got to go through all of this and figure out, what's taxed and what's not taxed. Okay, if you get a tax refund, that's income. Okay, you get a state federal tax; those are taxable. Interest on Treasury, unless it's exempt, that's taxable. And then you can see down here, there's a formula, and the formula we added up those. So we're going to about cells and coordinates and all these kinds of things. So that's sort of what's coming. Okay, so just be prepared for that. Okay, so again, folks, I laid a lot of stuff on you today. I know that. So yeah, what Sarbanes-Oxley is, we're going to go through that. But like I said, you're going to live in the notes, and it's at about 100 pages right now, 130 something pages. But and there's going to be some Wall Street Journal stuff in there, and learn, instead of just clicking through all this like this, learn how to learn Control G, learn how to go to. Right, instead of just hold, because you're wearing your keys out by just holding the button down forever, kind of a thing. Here, we're going to talk this relatively quickly in class, or relatively soon in class. I'm not necessarily talking about it quickly, but Biden to seek $80 billion to bolster IRS tax enforcement. Folks, this came out over a year ago. This came out in 2020. Forget about this was the previous spring. This came out when Biden first came into office. And it goes through all the logic here and how much taxes are generated and what the gaps are. And well, here's the big piece. It says banks and other payment providers would be required to tell the IRS how much money came into and out of individuals and business accounts each year. Okay, that's generally not happened in the past. So, that ain't great. At least in my opinion, that's not very good. But there's a lot of places to pay taxes in the world. Always keep that in mind. So risks of execution. But yeah, now again, the articles that you're going to get aren't going to be all highlighted like this and underlined. It'll just be the text, and that's it. So that's the whole participation thing that you understand what's going on. And again, where those comments from last year? Anyway, one of the comments something that stuck, because I just read them. One of the comments stuck in my mind was, "Man, this course is hard." Well, I mean, I'm requiring you to work like you go into the world and work, or at least how I work. I'm showing you how I work is what I'm basically doing, and what I care about, and what the people I work with who live in a sick house, right? Like one of the girls at Rutgers told me, this girl from the Dominican, she goes, that's a sick house, or whatever it was. They saw where the guys I worked with live, because I worked with them when I was just leaving Rutgers. I was just starting to work with these guys. I remember she told me that. Yeah, I mean, it's down in Florida. They live on their own island. What am I going to do? Don't hate me for telling you that, right? What can I tell you? They have their own island. I kid you not. So anyhow, we'll get to all that. So yeah, there's attachments here that I want you guys to read that will answer tax instructions and things of that nature. Sarbanes-Oxley. So you're gonna, like I said, you're gonna really live in this folder, in the regulation folder, and I'll post like an assignment link here. And our first assignment, just because I know a lot of you, it's your first crack at college and all these other kinds of things. The first assignment won't be due until like maybe those last 2 weeks in September, give you a little time to sort of get settled in. And I don't wish to be 18 or 19 again. That's for sure. It's tough, especially in this environment. It's very tough. And I'm going to expand the number of folders here. So folks, keep an eye out for announcements. And actually this video that I'm making now, I'm going to put the link in here. I'm going to repost this. I'm going to put the link in here somewhere so you can just click on this and sort of see what's going on. But like I said, folks, the schedule is here. So these 3 days, these three Thursdays, you don't come. Monitor for the 14th and the 20th. Yeah, the 14th there's going to be no 1 and 2 o'clock classes. So those are the 14th. That's the 10104 and the 415 section. On the 14th, we're not going to meet in the afternoon. The 28th, we're not affected. And then October, we should be just free and clear. Those 4 weeks, we should be meeting 3 days a week. And then when November rolls around, we're going to go those three, the 3rd, the 10th, and the 17th. We're not going to, and then the 1st and the 8th of December, we're probably not going to meet. So you're going to have 8 or 9 YouTube days out of the 45 days that we're going to be meeting. And my mom's up there in years. The folks from last semester, you guys might remember, mom has had a surgery and she's got to go to the hospital. And when you're almost 100 years old, we can't just pick up our mom. Boom, we're leaving. It takes time. There's a wheelchair. I mean, at home she walks around, but when we go out, she's in a wheelchair just to make it quicker. So yeah, I got that responsibility, and I might be traveling with my guys a little bit too, so just keep that in mind. But folks, hey, it was fantastic to get online with everyone here. Yeah, it was fantastic to get online with everybody here. This whole thing's going to be on YouTube. Watch the videos. I'll be posting videos. I have like hundreds of videos that I've posted over the years. I think if you go to YouTube and just type in, you might see some of my initial videos. Yeah, there's other stuff here. This is from a number of years ago. I don't know why these are public, but this is a good number of years. Yeah, you can see there's some examples up here. Net present value. Oh, there's Mike. All right, there's Mike. How about that? Okay. And then there's other people. People sort of. I'm not Enzo Politi. I'm not I don't know who that is. Yeah, completely. Yeah. What's Ainsley? There's Ainsley from this morning. Steve Bannon. Okay, there's probably stuff I click on a lot. But yeah, I'm up here. There's some stuff up here. Okay, so I have a nice backdrop now. So I have always, I believe I have more than 29 videos. There's 29 posted, but there's more than that. There's a lot more than that. Yeah. Okay, so I got a lot of videos here. This is all the net present value stuff and completing the accounting cycle and all that. Yeah. Okay, but that's regardless of that. But we'll concentrate on the videos that we need in terms of what we're doing here, folks. It was great getting on with you. Again, welcome to St. Peter's. Welcome to welcome to Jersey City. Welcome to St. Peter's, and hopefully you have a good experience in college here. Hopefully we have a good, like I said, generally I've taught for a very long time, more than you guys have been alive. I've been teaching, and generally goes very well. But again, it's a lot of work, and if homework is copied, I'm going to say something about it. Okay. And in class, you got to come, be disciplined and listen. I don't want any problems. If you can't focus in class, please, don't come to class if you can't focus in there. And really though, the course is going to be all up on YouTube. But again, always talk to me about any situations like that, or if somebody's working or picking up a younger sister or something at school or whatever, we can deal with that. Okay. All right, folks. It was great seeing everybody, and we'll see you soon.